Hello, and welcome back to the channel. As you can see here, we're at the start of another Jersey Quest BGM mode. This is actually a repeat one of one we did, I don't know how long ago it was, but it was probably a while ago, I think. It's like, I really saved over the old save, and the old save was from like a while ago. But in terms of like when it recorded, went up, whatever, yeah, it's from a while ago. You're here in NHL 12 with the New York Islanders. So if you have been watching a lot of these, you probably in a good memory, because I can't even remember how long it was. You probably have a good idea of who the Jersey Quest player in the jersey and stuff is. But yeah, we're here back again with one of these. Obviously, the last Jersey Quest we did was the two Chris Osgood ones, where like one was the career mode, or no, it was career mode, it was dynasty mode, and then we did the playoff mode because it was like the same season, same player. So I just did like a playoff mode or whatever, and played this in like a final. But if you remember that, we were kind of going through kind of milestones as written in the CBA, and we're kind of focusing on the goalies at the start because I guess why not? I guess was kind of my logic at the time. So the three kind of milestones were games played, which we had done all the ones who had played 500, plus obviously Bobby Lou played 1,000, so we did his 1,000th as well. And then we did wins, where we did pretty much all those people, all the ones we could, except for Evgeny Nabokov, because he should be the Islanders goalie in this game. But if we go, actually, that's the wrong button. If we go to GM options, it's probably the easiest way to look at it. Contracts. Actually, no, that's the wrong. I want to roster moves, so I probably do want to move players around anyways. So if we go by goalies, yes, we have Ricky DiPietro and Al Montoya. Then we have Mikko Koskinen and this chap here, Kevin. And as the goalies, as you can see, there's no Evgeny Nabokov because he's obviously in Russia for the 2010-11 season. I think was it no? Cause I think even then, I feel like it was like the whole weird situation was like he had like we claimed him off waivers when he came back. Hold on, let me go down here. Hold on. Because Nabokov was the starter. He played 42 games. DiPietro played 8, which yeah. Russia and moved to North America. Later career. Yes, at the conclusion of the 9-10 season, Nabokov. This is like a huge tangent, but we're going into it here. Nabokov, yeah, he wasn't going to be offered new contracts. Then he went to St. Petersburg for like a lot of money, and then was bad in the KHL. So then he signed. He signed with the Red Wings in January 2011, but then he had to go on waivers. So then we claimed him that January, and then didn't play for us the rest of that season because he was like, why did we claim him? And he got suspended by the Islanders and sat out. But then he obviously played the 2011-12 season. But I guess because he sat out, they didn't include him in the game. I don't know. Like you would think they would just include him anyways, but they didn't. So yeah, like cause I think his 300th win was in this season as well. But obviously, because he's not in the game, he can't do that one because for whatever reason, I don't know. Again, I'm not like a technology expert here, which is like a vast understatement. I am by no means a technology expert, but like obviously EA put out the roster updates, but then they shut down the server, so you can't access the roster updates anymore. But you think they would just be able to like push the roster updates like as an actual update to the game? Now that the servers are going to do like one final update to all these games, and they shut the servers down, and like give everyone all the rosters, because I would imagine like in like after like in the first roster update, Ibaka probably had added to the game or whatever, but they didn't do that. Like he was, yeah, but that's a huge like not like anti-EA statement, which is really a surprise. But yeah, so Nabokov was the goalie this year, but that's neither here nor there. So yeah, we did all the 300 win ones. Then we moved on to shutouts, which was what the Chris Oscar the playoff mode was. But then that was that's the wrong tab. I have like so many windows and tabs opens. Here we go. Okay, so we did games played. We did Jeff Hackett, Tommy Salo, Yaro Halak, Dwayne Rollison, Evgeny Nabokov, Chris Osgood, Burrow Luongo twice. And then 300 wins we did Chris Osgood and Burrow Luongo, because everyone else was players who were all their 300th wins were in the 90s, or of getting Nabokov, who wasn't in this game, unfortunately, when he got his 300th win. And then 40 shutouts, so we did Chris Osgood, the playoff mode. And then we did, yes, I was wrong. The last jersey quest we did was the Yara Halak NHL 17 one, which was fun because NHL 17 IMO best NHL soundtrack, in my opinion. Songs in there were fire. But yes, we did get Yara Halak, and then that's right. The next two options were after that. Because I think even the 300 wins, Robbie Lou, we didn't actually have to do one because conveniently for Longo, he like I guess fun factoid, he all three games where he hit his milestones with the Canucks, so his 500th game in the NHL was with the Canucks. His 300th win was also with the Canucks, and his 40th shutout was also with the Canucks. And all three of those milestones, which occurred in 3 different seasons, because I think it was, pretty sure it was 3 different seasons. All those 3 milestones all occurred in games on the road. So he was wearing the same, like the Canucks away jersey for all 3. So we didn't have to do that one because we already have the jersey and the player, so there's no point in doing it again for like the same exact jersey. So we didn't have to do that. And then Nabokov, his 40th shutout, came within, I think, his last season with the Sharks, or second to last season with the Sharks, where he was wearing the away jersey, which was the same jersey he wore in his 500th game, so we didn't have to do him again for that either. And then I said Bobby Lou, and then Halak, we did his, obviously, that was, misremembering, that was the last jersey quest we did, was Halak, with 40 shutouts. So that was everyone who had 40 shutouts, besides, obviously, Varley, who is technically still active, even though I highly doubt he's ever going to play again after his double knee replacement, or 2 replacements on the same knee. They don't really specify exactly what happened with that, but yeah, so I don't know. But we'll see. Once he officially retires, he'll probably go back and do all his milestones. He hit, I'm pretty sure, all these milestones. He hit the 500 games played, I'm pretty sure. He didn't hit 300 wins, but he's pretty close, which is kind of unfortunate that he wasn't able to hit it because he got hurt. And then he hit 40 shutouts as well. But yeah, so that's neither here nor there. So we finished all the goalie milestones there from the CBA, so now we're moving back to skaters. So the skaters is going to be a little different because of the fact that, well, that's the whole thing. It's like because on like I've seen websites and stuff where like it ranks, categorizes players by these kind of milestone achievements and stuff. It's like goalies and like goalies are one separate thing. That's why we did the goalie ones first like this. Then we're moving back to skaters because we did a couple skater ones earlier. But yeah, neither here nor there at this point. But yeah, so skaters, it's going to be a mix of all the different types of players, and like the milestones are going to be kind of mixed together a little bit too. At least for the games played are, because it's like they're obviously all going to be mixed there. But then points totals and stuff's going to be different because it's like defenseman ones are way lower than the forward ones for obvious reasons. But games played, so we just spent like 8 minutes doing on like a huge divergent tangent. But I apologize for that. But that's just kind of how my brain ends up working. But yes, we're here at NHL 11-12, so the skater who had 1,000 games. So as I said, if you've been watching these, you probably remember who the player is. And if you go to coaching options, probably the easiest way to look at him, like him individually, because he should be in here. Where is he? Down here. It is Steve Staios. So we did his obviously before and didn't work out because he retired at the end of the first season, and because he's old sturt, not free for hockey, but he's 38, he's 79 overall, so. Signs are in the stars there for that, but we're going to try and turn it around this season, I think, by basically going, because we know he's basically going to retire at the end of the season. I'm basically going to go all in and like trade our draft, like all our draft picks and like prospects and stuff for like established players and try and basically win the cup that way. And we shall see how it goes, though. You have Steve Staios as the Jersey Quest player. Obviously, as I said, milestone was his 1,000th game. He played 1,001 in his NHL career, so his 1,000th game was the second to last game that he played in that regular season, which was on April 5th, 2012 against the Winnipeg Jets, which I think I already had the image on here because Getty Images decided to be like absolute losers and like lock filtering by like date specificity like behind making an account, which is like really stupid. But so I had the image up. Yeah, so he's wearing like the really fugly basic basketball jersey, hockey jersey hybrid that Reebok put out, which whoever approved that, ugh, God. But yeah, the thing is luckily is sin, but if I ever get one, this is kind of a cool reason why, because he wore it in his 1,000th game and he had the A on it, so it's like got all the elements. It's got the ugly frumbers, and it's got like a letter on it as well, so it's gonna look good there. But yeah, so he plays the 1,000th game then, played one more game in the regular season. Now, so we missed the playoffs that year, and then he retired. But so, as I said, because Islanders missed the playoffs that year because they didn't make the playoffs again until the next season, which was the shortened 2013 season. But I don't think how close even were we that year. Let's look at the top. Let's look at the top right. Look at the standings. We were not even close. Really, we were 13 points behind the Senators. This is the better older format where it was just top eight. And yeah, so we were 13. We had finished on 79 points, which is 13 points behind Ottawa for the 8th spot in the East, with a nice solid negative 52 goal differential. Just geez, that's terrible. But it's the worst in the East that year. Good job. But yeah, so as I said, they missed the playoffs that year, so us making it's going to be hard if we stick with this traditional roster. So we are going to, because it's basically going to be a one and done. I'm going to go all in. As I said already, we're going to trade our draft picks and our prospects, and basically basically our prospects and younger players who kind of like more fringe fourth line kind of guys. Who, if you're obviously this is going to be extended, we would keep because they develop and grow. We'll trade them for veteran guys and more established younger stars and stuff, and try and just basically build as super of a team as we can, and try and carry Steve Staios to a cup here. So I think that's it for this way longer than it probably should have been intro because my brain works in funny ways. I went on massive tangents there, which I apologize for. But yeah, in a couple seconds, we're gonna stop here, and it'll be the recap at the end of the 2011-12 season, where hopefully things will work out for us, and or the super team I somehow assemble, will win us a Stanley Cup. Okay, so here we are at the end of the 2011-12 season. And as you can see there in the little news thing at the top, it says the Islanders have defeated the St. Louis Blues in 7 games to win the Stanley Cup. So my basically mad scramble buying at the beginning of the season worked out for us. We were able to win the cup. For Steve Staios is probably going to retire at the end of the season, as he did in our original one. But so I guess how did we get to this point where we beat the Blues in 7 to win the cup? Let's kind of find out together. So I guess in terms of like the buying I did at the beginning of the season, the easiest way to probably show it is to go to the edit line screen, which is why I didn't advance the days. We can still go into this menu and like look at this before, I'll look at the awards and stuff at the end after I advance the day, and should advance and say that add the awards in. But so as you can see here, these are our forward lines. So the buy we did was brought in Dustin Penner from LA or Edmonton, question mark, one of the two. I think it was LA, but yeah, brought him in to go on the top line with Judas Iscariot and P.A. Parento. So it's all the first line. Then the second line is all like players that are already here: Matt Molson, Franz Nielsen, and Kyle Okposo. And then third line are other additional bringing in of player on the forward side was Shane Doan from the Coyotes. So they brought him in. He went on the third line with Josh Bailey and Michael Grabner. And then the fourth line was all people who were originally here as well: Matt Martin, Marty Reasoner, and Blake Como. Kind of so a nice little grinders line at the bottom. And then kind of 3 lines of the kind of typical power forward sniper playmaker setup. Pretty much because we our top three centers were a sniper and 2 playmakers. So that's kind of why we ended up with 3 lines like that. Because if Josh Bailey was like a 2-way forward, I probably wouldn't want all 2-way forwards down here or something. That's what we ended up with on the forward side. On defense, we have Mark Streit and Travis Hamonic, obviously 2 players that were here at the beginning. But then the next pair and then the bottom pair is some addition. So the left middle pair ended up bringing in Dion Phaneuf from the Maple Leafs and Jason Demers from the San Jose Sharks to make up our second pair. And then the bottom pair brought in who would eventually become an Islander, Nick Leddy, freed him from the shackles of Chicago to pair with Steve Staios. That was a nice kind of Zdeno Chara, Noah Dobson kind of setup thing here. Which, dang, Steve Staios went up by 1 point. That's kind of funny, considering he's probably going to retire. But yes, those are the kind of additions on defense for these 3 chaps. And then last in net, ended up trading Al Montoya and probably a draft pick or 2 to oopsies. Where'd it go? There it went. to Anaheim for the late Ray Emery, because I figured like we're going all in this one season, might as well like have two 80 plus overall goalies that can like kind of so I can actually like especially because like I've seen no Nabokovs like trying to like match the goalies who played games when Rick DiPietro played like 8 of the games and he's like our better goalie, which is not going to work. So I was like, all right, well let's bring in like a second high overall goalie, which ended up being Ray Emery because he was like in the AHL for the Ducks. They had like Hiller and someone else who was like really good. So I was like, all right, that'd be like a realistic trade to upgrade our backup position because I don't really need him in the AHL. And I was like, all right, let's do it. So basically, my strat was basically like when I simmed games, if we were like lost, like they lost, I'd like rotate, and that's how I'd rotate goalies. So if, like I simmed a game, DPH was in net and we lost, I would swap Ramry in, and that's kind of how it ended up working out. And swap back and forth. So that's all our additions and whatnot. So I guess we brought in a guy on waivers. Let's see if I go in here and edit. We go here, brought in this chap here. Adam Mayer on waivers because big injuries. We had Marty Reasoner missed a bunch of games, so then he was out, and I was like, all right, Michael Haley, we were like losing a lot at that point, and I think Toronto put Mayer on waivers, and he was like a grinder center, and I was like, all right, he was also like on 500 grand, so I was like, all right, that's cheap, won't put us over the cap, so let's slide him in. So we placed Reasoner. When Reasoner was out a bunch. Sorry. And then on the defensive side, Steve Staios missed like basically most of the last like couple of months of the regular season with an injury. So he ended up being replaced by someone who's already with the Islanders that year. It was Jack Hillen here. He was on the roster to start the season. So he played a bunch of games as well. But in terms of the regular season, let's go to the stats section. Here we go. Team standings. So as you can see here, we finished technically 7th overall in the NHL, and we were the 5 seed in the East with 102 points, 47, 27, and 8 record, which is way better than the Islanders actually had that year, obviously, and it was good enough to make the playoffs. So we kind of really kind of picked it up right around the trade deadline, where we kind of like were floating in and around the playoff spots for most of the season, and then like went on a nice run of wins like right before and like a little bit right after the trade deadline. That kind of pushed us up solidly into the playoff spots, and then we were kind of cool and coasted for the rest of the season after that, and still got in and made it. In terms of goals for, goals per against, old scroll, but we had 3.04. Sorry. Goals for per game, 2.44 goals against, which is a pretty solid stat. And in terms of skate, like individual stats, we go to player stats season. It's going to be alphabetical, and it loads in. So let's sort by points. Yeah, so our leading scorer was P.A. Parento, 14 goals, 58 assists for 72 points. So he was setting up Tavares and Penner for the regular league, showing Tavares at 33 and Penner at 28. So solid numbers from them. And then in terms of Steve Staios, he's going to be way at the bottom here. There he is, 3 goals, 4 assists, 7 points. Most of those, I would be surprised, like I scored when I play games, and I imagine most of them are probably empty net points. But yeah, see, he must do 52 games. Then Reasoner only played 58, so that's why Hillen and then Mayer's probably down here below. Yeah, also came in and played a bunch of games as our extra kind of players. But yeah, solid seasons. I'd say for Steve Staios, like 7 points for like a old. Like how many do you even have that year? Let's go back to the roster. Where is he? See, he had 8 actually. So he was actually it was worse. Jeez, sorry, by 1 point. But I'd say not bad, especially considering he missed a lot more. He played a couple more games that season in the IRL, so it's probably a little easier for him to get that extra point. But yes, solid season for him. In terms of in the net, here we go. So yes, it ended up being kind of almost 50-50 split. So solid goals against from both DPH 2.09, 2.53 from Ray Emery, 28 versus 19 wins. But then you look at the save percentage, Ray Emery's was not good, 889, not good. But Rick DiPietro's was good, 916, pretty solid. And then he had 7 shutouts, which is a lot, I would say. And then Ray Emery had 1, which is better than 0. But yeah, so decent. We got decent goaltending from our 2 goalies. Jesus, sorry. Sorry for all the yawning. All right, now it's the playoffs. We go in here, and I guess we gotta go this way. Yep. So as I said, we were the 5 seed. Got matched up against the Pens, who were the 4 seed with 103 points. That series went 7. We won game 1 5-3. They won the next two 3-0 and won then 3-1. We then won the next two 2-1 and 6-5. Pens forced game 7 with a 3-0 win in game 6, but we were able to finish them off with a 4-2 win in game 7. Then in round 2, we got matched up against the New York Rangers, who were first seed in the East with 110 points, but not the President's Trophy winners. That was the Sharks with 122. But so in big rivalry matchup, ended up going to 6. We won game 1 1-0. They won game 2 2-0. We then won the next two 3-1 and 2-1. Rangers forced a game 6 with a 2-1 win in game 5, but we were able to close them out on that. I should have it would have been at Madison since would have been on home ice because we were the lower seed. So yeah, it would have been on home ice with a 3-2 win at Nassau Coliseum. And then to face the number 2 seed in the East, the Washington Capitals, in the conference finals, who had finished at 101 points. So kind of the irony being there that we had technically like 1 point higher than them, but we're the lower seed. So we end up, I guess it kind of worked out to finish them off at home again, but in a 6-game series. So we won the first game 4-1. They won game 2. It's basically the same kind of setup as the Ranger series. We won the first one 4-1. They won the second game 4-2. We then won the next two 4-3 and 5-3. They forced a game 6 with a 4-3 win in game 5. And then we won game 6 2-1 to advance to the Cup final and play in the, I guess, the Braden Shen, Tyler Bortuzzo, Scott Perunovich derby. Obviously, we've had a lot more players. Those are the most recent players who have played for both teams, but which is actually kind of interesting to think about. We have had a lot of crossover trade-ish activity with the Blues in recent seasons, but yeah, so they were the 3 seed in the West with 100. No, they were the 8 seed. Geez, okay, with 84 points, and we ended up taking it all the way to game 7. They won the first two 3-2 and 2-1. We then won game 3 2-1. We won game 4 3-1. Basically put us at the brink of elimination. We were able to win the next 3 in a row 1-0. Then identical 3-2 scores in game 6 and game 7, which game 7 was at the Coliseum, thankfully at home ice, to win the Stanley Cup. So excellent work there, which you'll see the footage from at the end after we kind of finish this recap part, which actually finally for the first time one of these Chell games on the Xbox 360, because of my trials and travails trying to figure out a new recording scene thingy-mabob, because what I was originally using stopped working after NVIDIA updated the graphics driver a while ago, but I hadn't actually updated them until recently. So my original software stopped working. So then I had to find a new software, which is I think I'm using OBS, which has been decent enough so far. And in my attempts to figure out how to get it to work and other things, I figured out how to get the sound to work for these Xbox 360 games, which was basically changing a setting on the Xbox to get the sound to come through on the capture card, but it is now there, so you actually will hear the commentary audio and stuff instead of just being completely silenced for the kind of presentation stuff, which would be cool. But yes, they beat St. Louis in 7 to win the Cup. In terms of playoff scoring, we go to player stats. And sort. Dustin Penner, one of our acquisitions, was our leading scorer with 8 goals, 9 assists, 17 points, which is a pretty solid number. In terms of Steve Staios, where are you at? He's at the bottom, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, there he is. 1 goal, which I couldn't even tell you what game it was, but he scored a goal, which is pretty. I guess I would take it, but obviously not a consummate performance as I was potentially hoping for. But there was no way that was really going to happen realistically. So yes, so Steve Staios 1 point. In terms of the goalies, yes, the DiPietro played pretty much the entire playoffs, except I'm guessing this is the game 5 against Pittsburgh where he won 6-5. Where Emery came in relief, but yes, so DiPietro got all 6 wins, 2.09 goals against, which was identical to his regular season tally, and a 929, and 2 shutouts, which would have been game 1 against the Rangers and Game 5 against St. Louis, which were both 1-0 wins. So yeah, solid stuff from DiPietro, because I'm pretty sure, like in the video, he gets the Conn Smythe. I'm pretty because this again was the era when that's what goalies would get like that, and the Hart a lot in these games. But I guess let's see, double check that and confirm that. Happy advanced day. Outstanding job this year. Yeah, thank you. The AHL playoffs are still going. Okay, let's keep going. Come on. Springfield and San Antonio. One of you just win the Calder Cup. Come on. Oh my gosh. This is taking way longer than it should. Holy cow. Okay, there we go. They got the little loading thing there because it's like kind of loading the data. San Antonio won the Calder Cup, which doesn't really matter much, but here we go. Let's go to the awards section to wrap this up. Yes, yeah, so we won the Stanley Cup. Sharks won the President Trophy, as I said, with 122 points, which is a pretty decent total. Oh no, well, I must actually hit that. Oh, geez, that was my bad. Yeah, but the Clarence S. Campbell Bowl was the Blues, who we faced in the Cup final. We won the Prince of Wales. Art Ross was Sidney Crosby with 103 points. The Hart also went to Sid the Kid. So let me just type this up because I don't have it in my spreadsheet. There we go. Norris went to Mike Green of the Capitals. Not really a surprise there, I would say. He was a very offensive defenseman, so that's probably why he ended up winning it. Lady Byng went to Nicholas Backstrom, who finished 4th in scoring with 95 points for the Caps. Calder went to Jonathan Bloom of the Nashville Predators, who actually won the 2012 Calder. Let's see here. 2011, 12, and NHL season. NHL awards, Calder Trophy went to. That's a constant wrong thing. Oh, it's a Gabe Landeskog of the Avalanche. So not this guy, but it's interesting. And then as I said, again, there Conn Smythe, Ricky D, Rick DiPietro, which, God. It's always like using him in these games is always interesting because he always ends up being way more effective than he actually was for us IRL because he doesn't get hurt as often, thankfully. But yeah, Rick DiPietro won the Vezina. Not the Vezina, the Conn Smythe. The Vezina went to Antti Niemi, which I'm guessing is not really a surprise because he probably won like a bajillion games, which is what they seem to value a lot, which I kind of understand to an extent, but I feel like it should also just be more on this pure stats like save percentage, goals against, and especially now with the fancy stuff like goals saved above expected and so all that kind of stuff should kind of be that is what should be determining it. Because wins potentially could be if you're playing on a bad offensive team, but you're putting up really solid goalie numbers and they just can't score. It's kind of you're not going to get a lot of wins, even though you're potentially the best goalie in the league, stats wise. But that's just not here nor there. And the Jennings went to Antti Niemi again. Not really surprised there because the Sharks were the President's Trophy winners. Then we got what do we got? Masterton went to Barrett Jackman of the St. Louis Blues. Oops, I had the cat locks there. St. Louis. Selke, I'm gonna go Datsuk. Boom! Look at that, 100% accurate prediction there. Considering if you look at the list, he won it 2 of the prior 3 years back then, so it wasn't really that outrageous of a guess, but kind of funny that I got it right either way. And then Lindsay goes to Sidney Crosby, not really a surprise there. And then the Rocket Richard, if I already have it typed up here based on my should be Ovi. Yeah, Ovi, I think he had 50 goals. He finished second scoring with 102 points. But yeah, I think that's it. That is everything. So, able to redeem ourselves from the original Steve Staios Jersey Quest franchise mode by basically just throwing away all our future assets for veteran, basically just better players than what we Islanders had then. And we were able to kind of parlay that into, thankfully, a Stanley Cup because it would have been a pretty big backfire if it didn't end up working out, especially if Staios hadn't retired. Would have been a very interesting situation, but ended up working out for us very nicely. So I'm glad it did. And I guess what's next is a good question. It might be a kit quest, but it might not be because I might kind of just assign this next one to be a Ben Davis placeholder kit quest. depending on, because the whole problem obviously with Ben Davis is because he has been at Spurs for freaking forever, and was kind of mostly a role player back then, role player for I guess his entire career pretty much with us. So it's like he really won Player of the Season or any other like individual awards and stuff. He obviously won like the Carabao Cup, which wasn't called that back then because it was probably a different sponsor, but with Swansea like way back in the day. So I'm gonna have to either buy like a really old FIFA game and just go with that, or figure something else out with him. So I just pick a placeholder now and just like, well, BNX will be all kind of the Okeanos stuff in FGO, but if not, it might be a Ben Davis kit quest potentially of some kind, or maybe some other one if I decide not to make it a Ben Davis placeholder. But either way, it should be something fun. But yeah, thank you for checking this little series out, and hopefully you check out whatever it does end up being next on the channel as well. Thank you.
The New York Islanders, the Stanley Cup champions. Unbelievable. The most empty feeling at one end of the ice, and at the other end, I've been there twice. It is so hard to put into words the feelings that you have when you've won the Stanley Cup. I mean, it's almost disbelief. You can't believe it has finally happened. And after all the effort both these teams put in, they now go through the line. Gary, that tells you about the respect that these guys have for one another. I mean, they earn the respect. This is the Conn Smythe Award. Let's see who our winner is. Gary, when you win this one, you have truly won something that signifies you are a pressure player. Congratulations on this Conn Smythe win. Presentation will be made to the captain, and finally, for players in the National Hockey League, the one time where they can touch the cup. And another great tradition in the National Hockey League, if you're a player, you do not touch that cup until you have won it. So for most of these players, this is the first chance to actually feel that cup over their head. But it is this spectacle, raising the cup over your head, holding it in two hands, that every kid grows up dreaming about. One team, one photo, once a year. And this is the shot that will last a lifetime for all of these players.